The first snowfall of the year descended gently upon Vienna, transforming its bustling cobbled streets into a serene tableau. Each flake drifted lazily from the gray skies, settling softly on rooftops and windowsills, muffling the city's usual clamor under a blanket of pristine white. The air was crisp, carrying with it a quiet hush that seemed to echo through the narrow alleys and wide boulevards alike. It was a morning where time appeared to slow, allowing the world to pause and breathe amidst the gentle embrace of winter. Amelia tightened her coat around her slender frame as she stepped out into this tranquil scene. Her breath misted in front of her, ephemeral clouds that mirrored the ghosts of forgotten words lingering in her mind. She had not set foot in Vienna for a decade, yet the city greeted her like an old friend, familiar and unchanged. Every corner turned brought back memories, each street imbued with the essence of someone she once knew so intimately. As she walked, the cold nipped at her cheeks, but it was the chill within her heart that made her pull her coat even tighter. This place, beautiful and haunting in its familiarity, held more than just architectural splendor. It was saturated with the presence of him.
Noah.
His name echoed silently in her thoughts, stirring emotions she thought she had buried deep. The scent of roasted chestnuts wafted by, mingling with the faint aroma of aged books and coffee, scents that were inexplicably tied to their shared past. Vienna, in all its timeless glory, stood as a poignant backdrop to Amelia's return. The Danube River flowed steadily beneath its bridges, indifferent to the human dramas played out along its banks. Yet to Amelia, every ripple seemed to whisper secrets of yesteryears, tales of laughter and love lost. The weight of these memories pressed against her chest, making each step both a burden and a beckoning. In this moment, surrounded by the muted tones of winter and the spectral reminders of a life once lived, Amelia felt the undeniable pull of nostalgia. The city hadn't changed, but she had. Or perhaps, she hadn't changed enough. As she navigated through the streets she once wandered hand in hand with Noah, she realized that returning here was more than a mere visit. It was a pilgrimage to the altar of her past, seeking answers to questions she wasn't sure she wanted answered. And so, with each careful step, Amelia moved deeper into the heart of Vienna, drawn inexorably towards the echoes of yesterday. The snow continued to fall, each flake a silent witness to her journey back through time, back to the place where her story with Noah began, a story she was about to confront anew. 10 years ago, during a summer that stretched endlessly like golden fields under the Viennese sun, Amelia found herself perched on the grassy banks of the Danube. Her sketchpad lay open on her lap, capturing the fluid dance of light and shadow on the water's surface. It was a day like any other until the rustle of footsteps broke her concentration. Turning slightly, she saw him, a figure holding a book of poetry, his hair tousled by the breeze, wearing a smile that seemed to tilt the world off its axis. Noah approached hesitantly, his eyes scanning the river before meeting hers. "Mind if I sit here?" he asked, gesturing vaguely to the spot beside her. Amelia nodded, intrigued by his disarming charm and the earnestness in his voice. He settled down, placing the book carefully on the ground between them. "Rilke," he said, tapping the cover lightly. "Do you read poetry?" She shook her head, smiling shyly. "Not much. But I do enjoy art." She tilted her sketchpad towards him, revealing her half-finished drawing of the riverside. Noah leaned in, genuinely interested, commenting on the delicate lines and the way she captured the play of sunlight on water. Their conversation flowed effortlessly from there, weaving through topics as diverse as favorite colors and childhood dreams. As the afternoon waned, they discovered a shared love for the city's hidden corners and secret gardens. They decided to explore one such garden, tucked away behind an ancient church. There, beneath the dappled shade of towering trees, they talked until the setting sun painted the sky in hues of orange and pink. Noah recited verses from his beloved Rilke, his voice resonating with emotion, while Amelia sketched the scene, trying to capture the moment in charcoal and pastel. Their connection deepened with each passing day. They became inseparable, exploring Vienna's labyrinthine streets and historic landmarks. In the dim glow of candlelit cafes, they exchanged stories and dreams, their laughter mingling with the clink of coffee cups. Underneath the ancient bridges that span the Danube, they whispered secrets into the night, their voices blending with the gentle murmur of flowing water. One evening, as they strolled through the old town, the city bathed in the soft luminescence of street lamps, Noah stopped suddenly. Turning to Amelia, he took her hands in his eyes reflecting the warm light. "I think I could love you forever," he murmured, his voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions visible in his gaze. Amelia felt her heart swell, the words echoing her own unspoken sentiments. They stood there, under the watchful eyes of centuries-old architecture, sealing their promise with a kiss that tasted of hope and endless possibilities. That summer, Vienna was not just a backdrop to their burgeoning romance, it was a character in its own right, shaping their love with its beauty and history. Every cobblestone path they tread, every sunset they watched together, added layers to their bond, making it as intricate and enduring as the city itself. For Amelia and Noah, those months were a tapestry woven with golden threads of joy, discovery, and an unwavering belief that their love would stand the test of time. As autumn crept into Vienna, painting the city in shades of amber and gold, the reality of separation loomed over Amelia and Noah like an impending storm. Life, with its relentless march forward, had begun to tug at the seams of their idyllic summer romance. For Amelia, an opportunity arose that promised new horizons and professional growth, a prestigious job offer in New York City. It was a chance too significant to ignore, a stepping stone toward a future she had long envisioned for herself. Yet, as thrilling as the prospect was, it came with a price, leaving Vienna and leaving Noah. The news hung heavy between them, casting a shadow over their days. They sat together on the same riverbank where they had first met, the Danube now reflecting the somber hues of fall. Amelia's sketches lay untouched in her lap as she struggled to articulate the turmoil within her. "I have to go," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. The words felt like stones dropping into the still waters of their relationship, creating ripples that neither could ignore. Noah listened quietly, his expression unreadable. When he finally spoke, his voice was steady, but tinged with sorrow. "I understand," he said, though his eyes betrayed the weight of his words. "But my life is here. My family, my work, everything I've built, it's rooted in this city." He paused, searching for something to bridge the chasm opening between them. "Can't you stay? Or can I come with you?" Amelia shook her head, tears welling up despite her efforts to hold them back. "You belong here, Noah. You always have. And I need to see what's waiting for me out there." The truth of her words was undeniable, yet they cut deeply, severing the fragile thread of possibility that had kept them tethered to a shared future. In the weeks that followed, their time together became a bittersweet countdown. They clung to every moment, desperate to etch each memory into their hearts as if it might sustain them through the years apart. They revisited their favorite spots, the ancient bridges where they had whispered secrets, the candlelit cafes where they had shared countless conversations, the quiet corners of the old town where they had dreamed of forever. Each visit was tinged with the knowledge that it might be their last. The final days were the hardest. Amelia packed her belongings, folding away pieces of her life in Vienna alongside remnants of their shared past. Noah helped her, his presence a silent testament to the love they refused to let fade entirely. On her last evening in the city, they returned to the bridge where they had danced in the rain, the place where their love had felt infinite. Now, standing there together, they were acutely aware of how finite it had become. "I don't want to say goodbye," Amelia admitted, her voice trembling. "It feels like saying goodbye to a part of myself." Noah pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her as if he could shield her from the inevitable. "Then don't," he whispered. "Let's just say, until we meet again." His words were a fragile promise, one they both knew might never be fulfilled. Yet in that moment it was enough. The next morning, Amelia boarded the train that would take her to the airport, her heart heavy with the ache of leaving. Noah stood on the platform, watching as the train pulled away, his hand raised in a final wave. The distance between them grew with every passing second, until the city and Noah vanished from sight. For Amelia, the journey to New York marked the beginning of a new chapter, but it also carried the weight of an unfinished story. She tried to immerse herself in her work, throwing herself into projects that demanded her full attention. Yet, no matter how busy she became, there were moments when the absence of Noah felt unbearable. She would catch herself reaching for a cup of coffee the way he liked it or expecting him to finish her sentences, only to be met with silence. The city buzzed around her, vibrant and alive, but it couldn't fill the void left by his absence. Time, as it often does, began to blur the edges of her memories. The sharpness of his laugh, the warmth of his touch, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, all of it started to fade, like ink smudged by rain. Still, there were nights when she would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, and wonder if he ever thought of her. Did he still walk the streets of Vienna, tracing the paths they had once shared? Did he still read Rilke, his voice echoing in empty rooms? In New York, Amelia dated other people, hoping to find solace in new connections. Some relationships brought fleeting happiness, others left her feeling emptier than before. None of them could replicate the depth of what she had shared with Noah. No one else understood her quirks, her silences, the way she took her coffee. No one else had been woven into the fabric of her soul the way he had. Yet, as the years passed, Amelia learned to live with the ache of loss. She built a life for herself, one that was fulfilling in its own right. But deep down, she knew that a part of her would always remain tethered to Vienna, to Noah, to the love they had once shared. It was a love that had defied logic and reason, a love that had promised eternity but had been cut short by the cruel hands of fate. And so, she carried it with her, a quiet, persistent whisper in the recesses of her heart, reminding her of a summer that had changed her forever. Though time had not been kind, it had taught her one undeniable truth. Some loves are not meant to be forgotten, no matter how far apart two souls may drift. Years slipped by like sand through an hourglass, each grain marking a moment lost to time. In New York, Amelia built a life filled with achievements and acquaintances, yet it felt incomplete, a patchwork quilt stitched together with borrowed purpose. No accolade or social gathering could mend the gnawing sense of longing that lingered within her. It was as if a piece of her soul had remained in Vienna, tethered to its cobblestone streets and the man who had once been her compass. Her decision to return wasn't sudden or deliberate, but emerged from subtle, almost imperceptible nudges, an old photograph unearthed from a drawer, a Viennese waltz drifting through the radio, a dream that left her waking with the taste of roasted chestnuts on her tongue. These fragments of memory coalesced into a force stronger than her resolve to stay away. Life seemed to conspire, pulling her back to the places where her heart had broken, demanding she face the remnants of her past. The plane touched down on a crisp autumn morning, Vienna bathed in hues of amber and gold. Stepping onto the tarmac, Amelia felt the familiar chill of the air, a stark contrast to New York's humid summers. The sensation grounded her, a reminder of seasons missed and a life left behind. As she walked the familiar streets, memories flooded back with startling clarity. The cafe where she and Noah had shared their first kiss, the park bench where they read poetry aloud, the bridge where they danced in the rain. Each place stood as a silent witness to a love that had once burned brightly. Vienna welcomed her with timeless elegance, unchanged and steeped in stories of love and loss. Opera music spilled from grand halls, lovers strolled hand in hand through manicured gardens, and the scent of roasted chestnuts filled the air, a sensory tapestry woven into the fabric of her being. Yet amidst this symphony of familiarity, Amelia felt a profound dissonance. The city was the same, but she was not. She carried the weight of years spent outrunning memories, convincing herself she could move on. Each step through the city drew her further into her past. The Danube flowed steadily, indifferent to human dramas along its banks. Drawn to its shores, Amelia sat on the grassy bank where she had first met Noah. Opening her sketchpad, she hesitated, unsure if she could capture the essence of this place without summoning the ghost of the man who had been her muse. As the wind carried whispers of forgotten promises, Amelia realized her return was more than physical. It was a pilgrimage to confront the love she had tried to leave behind. The city's unchanging beauty mirrored parts of herself she had suppressed. Here, amidst echoes of yesterday, denial was impossible. Noah wasn't just a memory, he was woven into her soul. With each breath of Viennese air, the walls around her heart began to crumble. The city, in all its nostalgic splendor, pulled her back, not just to beloved places, but to the person she had been. It was a reckoning long avoided, a confrontation with the love that had shaped, defined, and haunted her. Vienna called her home, not to the city itself, but to the unfinished story awaiting her beneath ancient bridges and storied streets. Amelia's steps faltered as she rounded the corner, her breath catching in her throat. There he was, standing at the very bridge where they had once danced in the rain, his figure outlined against the backdrop of the Danube. The years had been kind to him, though his hair was now touched with silver, adding a distinguished grace to his features. He stood with his hands buried deep in his pockets, gazing out at the river as if searching for something intangible, something lost in the currents of time. Her heart pounded fiercely in her chest, each beat a drumroll heralding the collision of past and present. She hesitated, caught in the vortex of emotions swirling within her. Would he remember her? Would the sight of her evoke the same tumultuous rush of memories that now threatened to overwhelm her? Taking a deep, steadying breath, she forced herself to move forward, one hesitant step at a time. As she drew closer, Noah turned, perhaps sensing her presence or hearing the soft crunch of her footsteps on the frost-kissed ground. Their eyes met, and in that instant, the years melted away. Recognition flickered across his face, followed by a mixture of disbelief and something deeper, something akin to the embers of a fire that had never truly gone out. "Amelia," he breathed, his voice a mere whisper, yet it carried the weight of 1,000 unsaid words. Her name on his lips was like a melody she had long forgotten but instantly recognized. Tears welled up in her eyes, blurring her vision, but she did not attempt to wipe them away. Instead, she stood there, vulnerable and exposed, letting the moment wash over her. "Noah," she replied, her voice trembling. I didn't expect to see you here." He offered a small, crooked smile, the same one that had once made her heart skip a beat. "I could say the same," he said, his tone laced with a gentle humor that belied the gravity of the situation. "What brings you back to Vienna?" The question hung in the air between them, heavy with unspoken implications. She considered lying, concocting some plausible excuse, but the sincerity in his eyes disarmed her. "I guess I needed to come back," she admitted, her voice barely audible over the distant hum of the city. "There were things I needed to face, memories I couldn't escape." Noah nodded slowly, understanding dawning in his eyes. "Memories have a way of doing that," he said softly. "They follow you, no matter how far you run." They stood there for a moment, the silence between them thick with the weight of years and the ghosts of what might have been. Finally, Noah broke the spell. "Would you like to walk with me?" he asked, gesturing towards the bridge. Amelia hesitated, then nodded, falling into step beside him. The wood of the bridge creaked beneath their feet, a sound that echoed the fragility of the moment. They walked in silence, the river flowing steadily beneath them, a constant reminder of the passage of time. "Do you ever think about that summer?" she asked suddenly, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. Noah glanced at her, a flicker of sadness crossing his face. "Every day," he confessed. "It was unforgettable. You were unforgettable." Her heart clenched at his words, a bittersweet ache that was both comforting and painful. "I thought about you too," she admitted. "All the time. There were moments when I thought I could move on, but it never felt right. Like a part of me was missing." He stopped walking, turning to face her fully. "Amelia," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I never stopped loving you. Not for a single day." Tears spilled down her cheeks, unchecked and unbidden. "I never stopped loving you either," she whispered, her voice breaking. "But life, it got in the way." Noah reached out, his hand hovering uncertainly before gently brushing away a tear from her cheek. "Maybe it's time we stopped letting it," he said, his eyes searching hers. "Maybe it's time we wrote a new chapter." Amelia looked at him, really looked at him, seeing not just the man he was now, but the boy who had once stolen her heart. She nodded slowly, a tentative smile breaking through her tears. "Maybe it is," she agreed, her voice steadier now. And as they stood there, on the bridge where their love had once danced in the rain, the past whispered around them, urging them to believe that love, true love, was never meant to stay lost forever.
The first snow falls, I'm back again, walking down these streets like it's still then. Every step a memory fades, but your name still lingers in the frozen lane. I hear your laughter in the echoes, feel your touch in the midnight breeze. I swore our love would last forever, but time had other dreams. And I still see you by the river, where we danced in the pouring rain. We were young, we were endless, but the world pulled us away. Now I'm standing where we parted, wondering if you feel the same. Do you hear the whispers? Yes, did you read me poems? I painted you skies, tangled in love, lost in your eyes. But fate had a cruel way of calling, and I let go when I should have held tight. I hear your voice in the silence, feel the weight of what we lost. We were pages left unfinished, two hearts paying the cost. And I still see you by the river, where we danced in the pouring rain. We were young, we were endless, but the world pulled us away. Now I'm standing where we parted, wondered if you feel the same. Do you hear the whispers of yesterday? And through the crowd I see you standing, the same old cold, same quiet gaze. One step closer, my heart is pounding. Is it too late or just fate delayed? And I still see you by the river, like a dream I can't erase. If I reach for you this time, love, won't you meet me in this place? The past is calling, I hear it now, like a song we used to play. Maybe love was never lost, just waiting for the day they hear the whispers of yesterday.